Hey yo!
Hey yo! Howdy rowdy!
Hey yo!
We're
Hello.
starting. Hello everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Charisma Check, and we've got a full house today. Everyone, do your most lethargic clap because it's way too early for this.
One moment.
Yay!
Yay.
Oh hey, look! I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
You're all surrounding
There we
me
go.
as
Ow,
things should
that
be.
hurt.
Yes. You've been
Here's
contained.
Here's my clap. Here's my clap.
I'll do it
Hold up!
again.
I got a clap for you.
Ow!
It's like slap my thigh.
I noticed you gave in and became a 2D tuber.
Yep.
Our numbers are growing. Dryad, you're the last word left.
No! Don't turn me into a marketable PNG! No!
You're surrounded, men.
Become PNG.
Return to 2D. So,
Wow.
I want to do quick introductions all around. But before all of us introduce ourselves, I want to give a quick shout out to the lovely Giya who will be joining us for episode 2, all the
Hello.
way from across the sea. Time zones.
Europe.
You're up, derogatory.
I thought it was across the pond.
Oh my God.
Look at me.
So let's do our introductions, and because we have our pilot absentee here, you're first because I've decreed it.
Fuck. Hi, hello, I am Giya. I don't stream D&D, but I have been running campaigns for, I want to say, about 5 or so years now. So I am definitely the one here with the least amount of experience, I want to say.
I don't know if I would say that. We all have pretty solid experience. 5 years is nothing.
Wait,
to
you
sneeze
said
at.
DMing for 5 years?
Yes.
DMing for like 3.5. You beat me.
Grant is the baby.
I am baby in more ways
I
than
am not
one.
the child here. Let's go.
But I do stream one-shots now and again, but it's a little rare.
What do you stream?
Mostly games.
What kind of games?
Mostly action stuff. Like I don't know, like some Dragon Ball games, like Dragon Ball games, or general like anime games, or fighting games. And
Ayo Breakers?
Breakers.
Breakers.
I did introduce Giya to Breakers a few weeks back. By the way,
Well, introduce.
Angel,
I knew
thank
about
you so
it.
much for the hydration for everyone except Angel. Yep, we're drowning.
It's not how it
Every
works.
episode we be drowning.
I will say on the fighting game note.
Well, I gotta get water
technically
then.
The highest possible rank you can be in Strive, unless we count pros.
I saw your tweet about that. You're very proud of that.
I was so fucking hyped.
I tell you what though, I bet I could button mash and still get like maybe a 2% win rate.
Oh, probably. There are characters that will let you do that. No joke. You could just press medium and win.
All right.
At least I don't know if you can anymore, but yeah. Hello, hi.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Everyone knows me. I'm Dryadmin, one whose stream you're watching right now. You can find me on my Twitch channel that you're on right now, or I guess twitch.dryadmin if you are watching this from the YouTube VOD. Hello. You can also find me on Twitter or TikTok. And these are my friends. Let's guys, I guess go around and go to Angel.
Oh shit.
Angel's just like, oh no, I'm in the shower. Skip me.
Done.
I need a moment.
Sorry, I was joking. So I'm Angel Silver Rose. I am your curse merchant. Sorry to bother. Don't worry, the curse is just for me. Other than that, I have been DMing since I was 15 years of age, and now I'm over 30. So I've had a bit of time on my belt. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna have a really good bad guy. The only thing I'm gonna talk about is how I make my bad guys.
That's
think.
totally fine.
So yeah. So yeah, that's about it. So I'm gonna pass it on to my friend Hellspawn.
Spaghetti land.
Spaghetti-O's.
Oh, so I'm Hellspawn, everybody's favorite little demon and only demon, despite what people say. Like Angel, I've been DMing 20-something years now. Long time.
Yeah, we've got the wizened veterans on the right side of the screen right now.
So the boomers.
I will be controlling the podcast with the Clackety Talk dice today and bringing up what makes a good villain or a memorable villain for everybody.
Yes, and then at the center we have Baby.
Hi, yes, I'm Baby.
Hi, yes, I'm Baby, who pretended to be a woman that actually wooed a poor guy that take a break after I wooed him. And then
I remember that episode. Like
Wait,
it
what?
was last week.
Oh, now I remember. But hi, my name is Brant, also known as Divine Justice, your guardian angel. You do not perceive my socials. It's fine. That's
Still
it.
waiting on more virtual reality stuff. Where's that VR going?
When work doesn't kill my body. That's
Alright.
literally been my issue. It's like I go home like, oh, I want to play VR. Because, you know, my name is Divine VR.
Collapses.
Literally fucking
Oh, this bed feels pretty nice.
collapse on the ground. Yeah.
Yes, but welcome to Charisma Check, where we are all a bunch of dungeon masters, and we talk about what it's like to be a dungeon master, prepping campaigns, prepping sessions, running games, and all about what goes through our big wrinkly brains when we're thinking about D&D. Because when you become a DM, you kind of sign that little contract. It's all in the fine print that D&D suddenly
Small
becomes the
text.
only thing you can think about for the rest of your life. So might as well put that to use here.
And then until Burns Out eventually hits you and knocks you out for another 4 years.
Right. They don't mention that in the fine print, but it's there. It's there.
It's on the back, invisible ink.
Yes.
Get
So
the
bad
lemon
we don't have
squeeze.
that spell. Finally,
Can't see
yeah, well that's basically what this is. And as mentioned, Spawn, you have the talking dice. You decided what the topic was going to be for this week, and you decided to make the topic all about villainy. Yeah.
Yes. What makes a great villain, a bad villain, what makes them memorable, and what makes them your party love to hate them so much.
Yes, the love to hate villains.
But I figured just because, somebody wasn't here last time, I think we'd start with Giya. Let's hear his opinion.
Yeah,
On
Giya,
villains?
tell us about how to make a lovable bastard.
I don't know if I'd say, because I have one like big villain I ran, which I don't know if I'd call him lovable. My parents did, want to stab him through the heart multiple times for being a dick. But I had this villain called Morius, not fucking Mario. My players really enjoyed mispronouncing that. But he was he was just a sorcerer. But the whole idea behind him was that some shenanigans has happened beforehand, where he is split into 4 different people, which is also split into different alignments. Where the players, the reason they really wanted to stab this dude was they found the 2 good aligned parts of him and got to learn a bit about, who he was before he split and everything. And the more they heard about that, the more they wanted to stab him.
What? They met that good versions of
Yeah,
him, and we're
'cause-
like, no, still violence.
No, it's more in the sense that they were like, okay, because this was the party's theory. They were like, okay, so if we kill the bad parts, do they then, fuse, and then, the good part becomes, the dominant one? So they're like, if we kill him, the good one can stay.
Right. Okay. Can we remove all the evil and just the evil?
Yeah.
That's what my parents tried to do with me.
God damn it.
Damn,
but
same.
They met this guy a few times, and we go a bit ahead to where there was 4 pieces of this person, like it was split into 4, and during the fight, just because I was really evil and they really started loving the good sides, I killed them off.
The good
Wow,
ones?
so you just made the villain by killing off the good one.
Dang, you were like, you
yes.
wanted a happy ending? No.
No, here's the thing. So the whole idea of if one dies, somebody does become the dominant. The thing is, the dominant one has been set from the start, which was that they ended up fighting because when all of them, got back together, you can like a second phase kind of boss fight kind of thing. Well, here's a quick thing that I'm kind of sad my players never realized. So the phase 2, because I like dragon, is Dungeons and Dragons. It became a big ass like astral kind of dragon.
Oh man.
We still had the souls of these 4 people. I'm so sad. 2 of them have banished like on their spell list, and I set it up that if you banish a specific soul from it, then it would lose an ability attached to that soul. And then realized and just went, fuck it, I'm going to stab the space dragon.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of D&D players are like casual Pokemon players, where it's like, ew, this move doesn't do damage? Gross.
Oh, see, I would agree minus one of my players. They loved Wall of Stone. There is, in my world, I want to say about 52 stone staples, because every time they park their horse cart, they made a new staple. Fucking Wall of Stone.
It's
That's
like
amazing.
It's like their freaking criminal calling card. By the way, thank you for the hydrate toxic.
But yeah, find out what they ended up doing, because after the fight, like, the thing was dead. The soul was like dispersed and were just gone. The last thing they did for that campaign was, first off, the sorcerer cast Wish.
This was a high level game.
Yes, this was level 1 to 20. Well, level 1 to 18. Yeah, I've only run like 2 campaigns. So, but they ended up using Wish, and they didn't lose it. They were like one off. But they didn't lose it. And then later on, they used another wish to get the other good side back. And they just said, fuck the other 2. They're like, it's like, what about the rest? You could wish them back, make them good. No. Fuck them.
Can you imagine that episode of Dragon Ball where it's like, Shenron, I summon you. Bring back only the people who weren't dicks.
You hold up, then where'd Vegeta go?
Yeah.
So you get a bunch of babies and kids that show up in the world. That's about it.
But there was one more wish that was used by an NPC where it was like, you know what? I don't want access to the weave anymore. I've done too much shit. I regret. So they just got rid of all casting ability. It was a wizard. The wizard no longer has access to the weave.
Wow. I don't know how to take that.
Unweaves your wizard.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that's like the only big like villain, because my other campaign I ran, it was very like, there wasn't one big overarching villain, it was just like smaller ones. I mean, there was a guy called Jeremy they hated because he slaughtered the monk's family, but they just hated him because he did that.
And that was like a mid boss, I assume. Like they were just kind of like a minor villain in the middle of this bigger story. I've had similar experience when I was trying to like run games with like mid bosses or like minor villains, because I had like newer players that like had seen the sort of like quest log that was like kill Iron Tooth or whatever, like the big orc villain of like this little arc that was supposed to be like introducing you to the campaign, and the new player like didn't fully understand how the arc was going to work, like how D&D works, so they made their backstory all around this one minor villain, like he killed my parents and slaughtered my village, like classic edgy backstory.
Of course.
But then 3 sessions later they kill him because he's a minor like first baby boss, and he was like, oh well, now my character has fucking nothing.
I mean, I will say the most cathartic thing for the party probably was because this dude slaughtered the monk's like monastery and like family. So what do they do when they find the dude and find him unarmed because of other things that happened? He was unarmed when they found him. They just put all buffs on the monk and go, we're not rolling initiative. That's a 1v1. They only roll initiative for like what's it called, cast like spell durations. But they were like, yo, I'm skipping my turn. I'll use my turn to cheer him on.
Here you go, sport. Off to see the wizard.
Definitely the most rigged gladiatorial combat ever. We will
Just in the
fight
lab.
like champions. 1v1. Also, here's a buff, here's a buff, here's a buff, here's a buff, here's a buff. Also, bane you, because fuck you. All right,
And also,
1v1.
you're unarmed.
Let's go.
So is the monk. I mean, the monk is also technically unarmed. But I don't think it's a fair fight.
Probably not.
But that was fun. Yeah, that's like the two. Like, I guess that's worth mentioning.
So what do you think like made that character like super memorable for your players? Because it was like, it's a weird, like, the way I heard it feels like a weird middle ground between like, here's a guy who I love to hate, just fucking kill him, I don't care. But then like there's at least some aspect of the good people that kind of like follows the classic redemption arc.
There was you're talking about the first one I mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy with the four different souls.
Yes. So the reason he was like just a bit of context. The reason he was split into 4 was because there was a wizard from this mage council who did it because he feared some other stuff. So to save that at the time kid, he did this like split thing. But because they found out a lot of this, they were like at first they were actually unsure if they wanted to like kill the boss. But like some other shit happened, especially after he came and killed 2 of the party's friendly dragons. They're like, no, we're killing him, and then we're trying to get the others. No, they're like, they got very unsure because I know one of the evil sides of the person had a talk with the party where the party's warlock nearly swapped side. Because in his words post session, he kind of speak in facts.
Wait, no.
It's always good when you get a turncoat because of your villain.
Yeah, I mean, he was very close with it, but he did, like, kill our 2, like, dragons who helped us find shit. He did do this other thing, and he nearly killed us. He's making sense, but, he stabbed me, so I must stab him,
I can just imagine your party like huddling around, like before the initiative is rolled, your party like huddles around in a friend circle and it's like, all right, let's all write down like a pros and cons checklist of like all the good and bad shit this guy's done to decide whether we like spare him.
I think one of my favorites, because like Morius himself, he liked to have fun, he'd be a dick to people. So I think one of the players had like the mirror, like where you can see kind of like the past. I forget what it's called, but it's like a mirror you can see the past. And it's like, all right, can you show me where Morius was 5 minutes ago? And it's like, yes, you look at the mirror and you see you from like about the building 20 feet away. It's like, hold up, wait a minute.
It's just like Jim from The Office just staring from the other side of the window like...
But then the best part, so then like the player's like, oh shit, he's here. So they run over to the rest of the party. They were having a talk with the Council of Mages. It's like, guys, Morius is here. And he's like, oh yeah, I am. Just gets out from behind one of them because he was under greater invisibility. It's like, oh yeah, I am. Hello.
Like, oh. Ah.
Interesting.
What do y'all think?
I mean, I find it amusing. It seems like your character had a split personality that was literally split.
Yeah. They also, the memories of each of them was not the memories of the split one, it was the memory of another split. Which confused pretty much all of them.
What is it? What do you mean? Another split? Like a fake split?
No, so let's say we have the 2 good sides, right? The one good side would have the memory of the other good side. And I think one of the good ones had the memory of one of the bad ones. So like when he would sleep and he would dream and stuff, he would be like experiencing stuff that happened during the day for the evil one.
What caused the split in the first place?
Essentially, short version of it, Morius had a lot of like excess like magic. So essentially, he was essentially like a wild magic sorcerer. So when that was trying to when this person from the Mage Council tried to fix this, the only thing that worked to get rid of this excess magic was kind of like split it up into like different. The idea was that he wanted to like take some of that magic and then put it into like some sort of like magical artifact, and so be like, okay, we can put this away until your body can handle it. That fucked up. And then sort of like instead of splitting some of the magic into these like I don't know if I want to say vials, but like things, it ended up just splitting him.
Just some archmage Patricking it up. We'll take this magic and push it somewhere else.
It literally. And then
Fair
like
enough.
he didn't manage to like as he got older he got it like they managed to like get it back, so it's like okay, he's fine now. War shit happened. Like this was some like stuff before campaign started. Like war shit happened. He was killed, so to speak, but instead of like dying, he just split back into these 4, and that's like where the campaign then started.
So I can't be like, one of your players had to have made the Xehanort comparison. Right?
Actually, no.
Like, did no one else like catch that?
No.
Damn. No one else
I
was
can't
like,
be-
this guy just sort of
I-
ignored himself like 3 times.
I mean, I know the picture I used. People for the like, I want to say, 4 months thought it was like an illusion dude from fucking Magic the Gathering. I forget his name.
Jace.
Yeah, because the art I had looked a lot like Jace. I was like, yo, we fighting Jace. I was like, no, his name is Mario. No, it's Mario. Shut the fuck up.
Let's go kill this guy.
Oh my god.
But yeah.
Wow.
To be fair, Marius was my first major villain I have ever made. So there's things that can be improved on. I know that much.
Yeah, I mean, all the villains that we're gonna show up, I think they have like some pretty significant flaws to them. I know mine does. And I want to show it off as like a life lesson for future DMs out there. Whenever it gets to be my turn to do my little show and tell. Yeah, I'm wondering what else is about Angel. What do you think about it?
Split personalities always have their own caveat and confusion and whatnot. I don't do them very often, but when I have, every time when when more unaware and unseasoned players deal with split personality bad guys, the effects of what you're looking for do not happen. The ahs and oohs and whatnot you're looking for.
Like the big
Just does
reveals.
not- Yeah, this just does not happen. Like the only time, I think what's that? Dungeon of the Mad Mage is where I actually had my first encounter of touching a split personality bad guy. Level 18th below is where you're Agent Aboleth.
Spoilers.
This has been out since I was a kid. If you don't know about it,
Mad Mage. Wait, hold up.
If you're here not looking for spoilers, you're come to the wrong podcast. This is the DM corner.
Dungeon of the Mad
Mage.
Mage came out when I started DMing.
Oh, it's the older version of it. I was gonna say the 5e one is from 2018.
Yeah, the older version is like literally like what 19.
There's another version.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Dungeon of the Mad Mage is like famous in other versions of D&D.
Yeah.
Original.
It's an old boy.
Tap it.
It's like it's like walking up to like Tomb of Annihilation, being like, "Look at this new module for 5e."
What? It's not a new module? When did that? What?
I was about
No.
to say the only one that I knew that, like had an older set was like Tomb of Annihilation, because
Tomb of
Acererak is just fucking iconic.
Before it was even called the Tomb of Annihilation, it was called the Tomb of the Sex Change, for crying out loud.
I don't.
Anywho,
Is that
Wait,
real?
what?
Get
what we
Gygax
call
on the
it back
phone.
then. That's what we called it back then because it literally every other trap either tried to kill you outright or change your
Or
gender.
Change your gender. That was a highlight of the old Tomb of Annihilation.
Very
Yeah.
progressive dungeon.
Imagine changing your gender actually being a threat.
Jesus
I-
Christ.
It was
think-
back then.
I
think
think
back
like
then,
20
yeah.
times. I mean,
There was like the precedent of like certain magic items messing with you or like having certain restrictions, like magic items that would change based on like your alignment or your gender or your race or things like that.
Oh
So,
yeah, there was tons of that
the
crap.
old school AD&D thing, like having any of those like core parts of your like quote unquote identity would be like a big hit, or like mechanically could be
character.
actually harmful to you.
Yeah, there were definitely magical items that were gender specific to this day. Still don't understand, but okay.
It's just it's one of those relics, man.
It's one of those relics. Anywho, like I was trying to say, the first time my party, it was a mixture of veterans and there was only one veteran, and the rest were very brand new people. And I had to do a dice roll or coin flip, rather, what personality they had to deal with. They dealt with mostly the negative personality, that one that will always constantly threaten them, blah blah blah, constantly threaten to turn slaves. But of course, my luck eventually turns when they finally reach where the actually Agent Abeloth is at, and I had to flip a coin once more to see what personality I get. I got the good personality. So even though, we're just gonna put this here really quickly. So even though they were getting ready for a fight and whatnot to kill this guy, and they clearly see that his personality changed, they still outright killed him. Outright killed him, and I'm still unaware that he had of his personality change and whatnot. Without anything, they just, outright killed him.
Maybe
like,
he's
"No,
begging for his
please
life.
die."
Maybe he's scared.
So I mean, you have to be prepared for those kind of scenarios, and when you have characters that have a personality change or a personality split, like I can see where the problem is if you think like that character leaves the story before you have a chance to learn about that kind of personality thing. And it kind of ties into the whole idea of like, oh no, I built this like villain and then he died way too early. Like way earlier than I expected them to die.
Now I do have a story on where the flip personality was effective, if that helps.
I mean, yeah.
Do I have
Go
time?
ahead.
Maybe, I don't know. It's Giya, you got to
Right.
talk a dice.
I mean,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I want to hear.
All right, so the only time the split personality was actually effective is when I actually had a changeling with split personalities. It was the split personality was the thief, the royal, and the cobbler. So literally, this village, this nearby town, literally was literally bumping into the parties all the time. Is either as the noble that hired them, the thief that's always trying to steal from them, or the cobbler that's constantly trying to help them. And the big reveal is when they finally realized that it was the changeling that was doing all this. It was the same changeling over and over. Was the reaction I was looking for. I mean, they literally they were stunned. They wanted to break. They did not know whether they wanted to kill him or help him. And literally for one whole session, all they did was talk about this one. Huh?
It's like get that pros and cons list.
Oh yeah, the pros and cons list. Now, what they didn't know that the changeling was actually like the adopted son of an actual noble, so they actually chose to spare him and got a reward for it. So that was a good deal. I had to really shorten this because I don't know how long I could talk.
No, that's fine.
I just reminded of something from one of my players about Morius. He's the reason that in Kanura, Tarrasques don't exist anymore. The Tarrasque does not exist.
A world without a Tarrasque? Can you imagine?
So you know how the whole thing with the Tarrasque is like, oh, if it technically dies and it goes back towards the Earth's core and then it comes back after X amount of time. It's something along those lines. I forget exactly what's written on like the wikis and stuff. So what would happen if the Tarrasque dies off the material plane?
Banished to somewhere else and then killed?
Yeah. And here's the thing.
Archmages, man.
So one of the split things of the Morius, of the Morius, was part of him was a necromancer. So what did I make his part of the boss fight? What if we just put in the ghost of the Tarrasque as his bodyguard?
Hoofda. Wait,
That's...
what?
That's
a whole new level of want to.
I have a question.
You did. What?
Do we think D&D players have fought more Tarrasques or more dragons at this rate?
Dragons.
I feel like people are more iconic on the Tarrasque.
That's because everybody.
But are you telling me we're just playing Dungeons and?
Tarrasque.
Yeah, Dungeons and Tarrasque.
To be fair, Tarrasque are such a late game item that half the time the players just outright banish them, and it's like, okay, we saved the town. They're not as iconic as a dragon that could be like at the start of a campaign, and you could see throughout. You could probably do the same thing with a Tarrasque, but the Tarrasque ain't gonna come up with devilish plans either.
It's literally that
final monster to kill, and you don't even kill, you just send to, and my canon being, you send it to a plane with a whole bunch of other Tarrasques. There's just a dimension out there filled with Tarrasques.
I mean, I have never seen a player so scared as when I went, all right, so the Tarrasque attacks. It's like, okay, does it hit? Yes. You take 60 force damage.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's half, right?
He was like, hold on, was it force? It's like, yes. This is spectral. This is not physical.
Yeah. So that's full damage, right? No, that's half. Wait, what?
Now here's the thing. He was a barbarian, but he was not, what's it called?
Totem.
Not the bear
he was not a
totem.
totem. He was what's the one where you like can give disadvantage for them to hit other people?
Ancestral, I believe.
Ancestral, yeah.
guardian,
He was an ancestral guardian. And he was like, hold on, were you telling me I take full damage? Yes. Clap.
Suddenly, not a tank anymore.
No. And like the reason, like what the the necromancer part was, he connected his soul to the fucking Tarrasque, so to the Tarrasque was his health pool.
Gross.
Sick.
It ended up mattering because the dude who ended up getting up and in the face of the wizard had immunity to necrotic damage, and the necromancer was just there like, oh no, what do I do? Because he was like, I have every necromancy spell.
My
spells! I am
spells!
immune. It's like, I am immune. What are you going to do?
That would do it.
That's definitely an easy way to make a villain like iconic and memorable. Just make him immune to a player character.
No, the player character was immune to all his spells.
Oh, the wizard was the boss was a necromancer.
Yeah, the boss was a necromancer, and it was just like, he's going to cast, a spell that does 60 necrotic. And it's like, reminder, I am immune. The necromancer is now scared because he just picked him up and went, all right, I'm gonna bring him over here. You deal with the Tarrasque.
All right, I'm about to deal with Bone Daddy. You deal with that thing.
Yeah,
he
just two
just
people
picked him up.
just slapping.
Don't call him Bone Daddy.
The funniest thing of watching just two wizards having a slap fight because their spells don't work on each other.
Oh lord.
I had a homebrew swole. I had a homebrew swole wizard who wanted to do things to a necromancer, and it's like, nah, we're not gonna do that.
Do what things?
Yeah,
I hate how vague you were with that, Angel.
Oh yeah, you don't want vagueness? Look in the general chat and Discord.
No, okay, we're gonna leave.
Oh.
We're gonna
we're gonna
spare the viewers that description.
I'm telling you, dude, look.
So Dryad,
Yeah.
why don't you tell us what memorable boss thing you did?
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay.
I'm just about done. Go, yeah.
Okay, so when I was thinking about the villain that I wanted to show off, or just like how I wanted to talk about villains, I kind of wanted to talk about like how to handle like a villain's agenda and sort of like what their plan is, because I found that the villains that I've ran, whenever they fall flat, it's usually because they feel like they don't feel like a real person, right? Like you had like your Saurons and other like otherworldly threats that kind of just like loom over and present an imposing threat to the world or the heroes or whatever. And I found that in D&D those don't quite work out so well because like the players aren't quite as invested, and if you don't see the villain doing things or having an agenda, they don't feel compelled to act against the villain, and they don't get the sense that the villain is an actual character. At least that's the way that I feel about it. I kind of compared the way the villain acts in Dungeons and Dragons. Has anyone here played, I love my board games and my card games and stuff. Has anyone here played like, the Eldritch Horror or Arkham Horror games and things like that, right?
Yes.
No.
So those games, you're usually playing a co-op game, which means like there's an AI DM kind of, and a lot of the games will involve something called like the agenda deck or the agenda pool, which basically kind of like tells you what the villains do after a certain amount of time has passed, and it ticks up this sort of clock called doom, and when the doom fills up, bad shit happens, usually to the players, usually to the heroes, and it kind of like demonstrated how like you have to do something, because if you don't, the villain has an agenda that's gonna like be really bad for you and affect you personally if you don't. So that's the way that I like to think about my villains, first in terms of what their plans are and why it's a bad thing, as opposed to just being like it like a force that's just like is evil, right? So let me go ahead and do I have my thing set up? No,
Well,
I hit the wrong one.
While
Imagine
you're doing
being
that,
prepared.
I would almost tack on as well as as far as like their evil agenda goes. They also don't have like most villains wouldn't have like one plan. Oh, congratulations, you thwarted this. Well, I guess I'm done.
Plan B.
Yeah.
No, now it's plan B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. Especially if like they are a intelligent villain.
Depending
Let's
on
get with the Danish
how
alphabet.
long you want the campaign to be.
Plan.
I mean, eventually they're gonna like halfway through plan F, they're gonna fucking strike them down. But
So I think I mentioned in the last episode that I wanted to run that I had or have run a campaign that is like that's like the opposite side of Death Note. Did I mention that?
Yeah.
Was that what I talked about? Yeah. So this is the character that is essentially the villain to that story. And first, can I just say, I think I hate tieflings. I just realized that like a lot of my villains are tieflings, and I don't know what that says about me.
I mean,
why
in
you
the
raise
lore,
us
they get a
against
lot
the
of
demon
hate.
race?
Yeah, let's not talk about it too much.
Spawn would like to know your location.
Yeah, right. But but essentially this guy is basically a wizard. He's just like a wizard. He has a bunch of wizard levels. And one thing that's important about this guy, to give you the full context, is that he's supposed to be the guy who has this D&D version of the Death Note. Everyone here knows the Death Note, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So you have
it's
the DM's
a
guide.
book. You write someone's name in it, they die. My version of the game of the book in the context of D&D, it had its own like specific rule set. It was different from the Death Note in the anime. It had different rules that was more conducive to a D&D setting, but functionally it behaved very similarly. And so you can tell that this guy would be a problem because he is the Onomancer. And I say that specifically because you're not supposed to know his name. And the Onomancer, if you don't know, is a wizard who specializes in true name magic. So he's very good at fucking with you if he knows your true name, and he's very good at learning your true name.
All right, L, here we go.
Yes, I'll go through the stat block, and I'll probably just like summarize it and then talk about the lessons I learned in running this guy, what he did well and what he did really poorly, and the lessons learned. So he has 18 armor class based on his mage armor. He has a bunch of magic items that whatever are matter. He has a bunch of stats. That's not the important thing. He has some actions. A lot of these are based on his features as an Onomancer, pulled straight from the Onomancer subclass of the wizard. I think it's an Unearthed Arcana. I don't know if it's official, but I pulled it.
I think so, yeah.
So he gets a free bless, which is an action, and he gets, and this is a thing that I like to do. There's a wand of magic missiles that you can have. You basically shoot it, and it casts magic missile. You can upcast it for every charge. It has 7 charges, or I think it has 6 charges. But basically, I like that. There's a house rule that I like to run, which is, you have these like wands, and if you use the last charge, usually the game will say roll a d20. If you roll a 1, the wand like disintegrates into dust, right? Like you use the last charge, there's a chance that the wand goes away in some way. The magic item it vanishes in some, in some appropriately arcane fashion.
Fireworks.
I like to have a rule that says, oh, if you're willing to guarantee the wand goes away by basically snapping the wand in half or whatever magic item you have, you get to like squeeze out like an extra level of the spell. So this Onomancer has a wand of magic missile, but he never like uses it normally. He just takes that shit and snaps it in half immediately, which basically shoots 9 missiles at once.
How many does he have?
He only has one. He only has one wand.
Which is why the Overwatch just pulling out a new one every time.
No, which is why this says like only once. It's not once per day. It's not like once per long rest. Once, because you're supposed to fight this guy several times, right?
I didn't see the once. I thought it was reloading.
Could you imagine he's pulling out a wand? He's pulling out a new wand like a pocky stick, just snapping it.
I'm a wizard. Snap, 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 snap. Do you know any actual spells?
No, snap.
Oh my god, that would be the best kind of wizard. I have a friend who runs a game like that, and he has like a Western like settlement where everyone's like a rootin' tootin' cowboy, and instead of like guns, they have 6 casters. Like instead of 6 shooters, there's 6 casters, and they're wands of magic missile. And so you can either like precision shoot 1 charge at a time, or you can fan the hammer and unleash all the charges at once.
Oh, well, I need to find something moment.
So it's just all these like people with wizard hats and like rows with wands, but they're all like yeehaw, like riding horses around.
Look in general.
Yeehaw, chuckle.
I just realized something.
That's a real fucking. Go ahead.
When wizards are cowboying it up, does that mean there's just wizards from the south?
The southern wizards.
Ye all chuckle fucks, I'm about to cuck all of Faerun.
Oh lord.
Fuck you, Sword Coast, you're next.
But yeah, that's where the magic missile eruption comes from. And then for his bonus actions, again, pulled straight from the Onomancy subclass, he has Extract Name. Basically, once he makes you roll a wisdom save, and on a failed save, he learns your true name, which if you're a player character and he knows your name and he has the book on him, basically means you die. Because once he learns your name, he's going to write your name on the book and you're dead. So this guy's a very huge threat. Like, obviously, like, you're supposed to not approach this guy head on. You're supposed to play like the sort of L detective, learn about him and try to like figure out a way to deal with him that doesn't involve direct confrontation, because the context of the campaign is this guy is a huge threat and has an artifact that kills you instantly. So he's very dangerous.
When did you run this?
I ran this maybe like 2 or 3 years ago for a bunch of. This was a home game that I ran for a bunch of my private friends. I did not stream this or run it. It went well.
Did he die?
It had a very rough ending, but I don't want to talk about that too much because it has nothing to do with the villain. But suffice to say,
TPK.
Suffice to say, they did TPK. And I had to basically take a 15-minute break to rewrite a bunch of shit to make it so that they had like something resembling a satisfying ending.
You know, sometimes they just gotta accept
that they
lost.
Fucked up.
They lost.
Maybe that's a whole other conversation, though. So
hey, villains can win. It is allowed.
Can win. It is true. It is true. Some people like those games. But the other major abilities he has are his spell casting. So he's 13th level. He has all these spells. The big ones are, of course, his later levels, which includes contingency and suggestion, which is important because that's how he gets his minions to do his bidding. And then he has plane shift and simulacrum, and that sort of like ties into his agenda. This guy's whole deal is he has this death note from this plane of existence, but every plane of existence has their own death note, quote unquote, and he is trying to create a tuning fork that is attuned to a different plane of existence, so that he can plane shift to that plane, get that death note, because when you have 2 of them, you like the powers combine and you become like this sort of like godlike being. And that's sort of like his whole agenda. Huh?
What if he has 3?
You only need 2.
Oh, fair enough. 3
what if I want 3?
I mean, you become a godlike being. You can get 3 if you want, but they're not meant to get any stronger. You're supposed to lose or stop this guy before he gets the second one.
So what if he gets 4?
I'm not.
Hold on. You want to know what happens when you get all 3 books? You say, finally, got them all together, and you start doing the Gravity Falls.
What happens when you get all 7?
I'm getting.
You can only have 6. That is the rule.
You can only be attuned to like 3 at a time. This guy's not an artificer.
The last book was the friendship we made along the way.
So this is sort of a plot spell, so that when he has the tuning fork, he can do his plane shift. The simulacrum is helped to make a mid boss. So when you fight the guy for the first time, you don't actually fight him. This is my favorite spell for wizard bosses. If you make a wizard villain, he should have simulacrum. Because then you can throw the wizard at someone as a mid boss, and when they kill him, because they always kill him, all of a sudden, you don't actually kill them, and it's like a fake out death, and it's cool.
It's just snow.
Yes, you know what simulacrum does, right? Basically makes a clone of a creature.
Does the clone also have a wand of magic missile?
No, I believe their equipment doesn't carry over. I think.
No, it doesn't.
So they don't have the wand. They don't have like the like a cloak of displacement and stuff like that. And the simulacrum has something to do with why they ended up TPKing, but I'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that off stream. He has all these spells. They're all cool, but they're mostly utility spells that are meant to help him in his goal of getting a bunch of people and doing a bunch of political intrigue and adventure-y stuff, to eventually get a tuning fork that will let him go to the actual plane that he wants to go to get the actual book and fulfill his ultimate like villain goal. And then he has Resonant Utterance, which is meant to help him sort of like sustain himself as a wizard. It lets him do a bunch of things for when you actually fight him, assuming he doesn't have the book. This allows him to like gain temporary hit points, make your spell safe at disadvantage, remove like magical buffs. Just, cool things that a villain can do. This sort of like replaced like what would normally be like a character's legendary actions. The biggest thing that I really liked here was Sympathy. Sympathy, again, these are all, from the Onomancy subclass. If he knows your true name and you're within range of the spell, he doesn't need to see you. He doesn't care if you have cover. If he uses your name and casts a spell, it immediately affects you, guaranteed. Which is one of my favorite things to do, because it allows me to create what I call the Thunderdome, which is you cast Wall of Force, you trap someone in this dome. Most people like use like bars, like trap you in bars, but it means that you can still shoot things out of it. This guy can just trap you in a pure dome with no gaps. And normally it would be like, well, if there's no gaps, you can't hit me either. But he's like, no, I have Sympathy. So I just trap you in the Thunderdome and then just fireball you from the center of the dome, and you can't do anything about it.
Hey,
it's the most villainous shit.
Hey, Min, could I
no.
reclass?
Absolutely not. But it's my favorite combo for Onomancy Wizards. And then all the other shit is just other cool things that he has. He has durable magic, so when he's concentrating, he has opponents to his AC. And then he has disadvantage on attack rolls. He has a Cloak of Displacement, so people have disadvantage on attack rolls until he takes damage, and then he doesn't. So the idea is you learn that about him, and then you're like, okay, well, we want to pepper him with like magic missiles or some sort of guaranteed damage. And then after that happens, everyone can pile on the attacks. So lessons learned running this guy. Lesson 1, you can make a very memorable villain if you have like the safety of introducing them and having them interact with your characters without like getting them killed immediately, right? Because this is supposed to be an analog of Death Note. Everyone else is playing L to his light. So this guy is meant to interact with your characters frequently and kind of play this big mastermind that your players are trying to learn about, sort of like almost like a mystery prospect. So you can do a lot more with your villains if you have a way for them to not like in a specifically cheap way escape combat. This guy has ways to escape combat. He has invisibility, he has dimension door, he can teleport out, he can make himself invisible and all that stuff. But it allows you to like basically introduce a bad guy to your characters with the confidence that they're not going to like insta kill him in the first encounter without like having the chance to develop the villain or make him interesting or make him memorable, right? Like it's very difficult to make a villain memorable the first time you see him, unless you want to make the villain like just like a heartless like puppy killer.
I mean, that's a fun one as well.
It is funny. The second thing that I learned is it's very fun, at least I found it very fun, to design the character around their plan. You know, I made this character, I made the plan, and then based on that, I would have decided like, oh, well, he needs to have this spell because it makes sense for the plan. He needs to have this spell. It like lines up, and then, you know, you kind of like do this sort of like leapfrog effect where you think a little bit about what the villain's plan is going to be, and you think a little bit about how the villain would be built based around that plan, and you do a little bit of building based around how the plan might shape the villain, or how the villain changes, you know, the villain's build might change the plan exactly how he approaches it. And you got a sort of leapfrog effect, and I think that's really good because it helps make up that plan B and C and D that, you know, Brant was talking about. Because when you build a character like this, you don't marry yourself to a specific arc. And if the characters do something that ruins the villain's plan A, you know, you still have enough that you can work on a plan B, and you can like make sure that the context of your plan B still fits the character's theme, right? It's not like, oh, my plan A was to plane shift into a new world and grab a book. Oh no, that didn't work. And then you're like, oh, my plan B is to now like murder the prime minister. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, has nothing to do with your plan A. Why is that your plan B? Now, with this, it's easier to like find a connection between those, right? So I find that it's really easy for me to make those plan Bs when you are able to make those connections, and this helps me make that connection. What not to do? Please give your villains legendary actions. Please give your villains legendary actions. I did not give this guy a legendary actions, and I really wish I did, because in order to make him balanced for like a full party encounter without legendary actions, I had to give him like insane busted spells. Like I gave him Ice Storm, I gave him like fucking telekinesis, I gave him simulacrum. Like this guy was way too strong, and that meant that like he had to basically wipe out like two. I saw that. I saw that.
He was in the middle
I had to wipe out like half the team with one spell to like keep the action economy afloat. But that scared the shit out of my players so hard. It was a funny story where like this guy started off by casting Ice Storm, and my players like didn't care to spread out when the fight started. So the Ice Storm hit everyone, and like 2 out of the 4 characters went down instantly. And everyone had like an oh shit moment, like holy crap, this guy isn't fucking around. So they had to like run away and like abandon the fight immediately. And he sent like the simulacrum after them, and I was like, I have to like recover this because this is terrible. So they had an NPC that was joining them, and they like flopped her over because she was unconscious. And I was like, oh, her cloak like spills out, and you see like 8 healing potions fall out. It was like such a transparent, like, here's a bunch of healing potions, get back in the fight, because I did not mean to fucking OTK you. But it goes to show like you need a way to resolve the action imbalance that happens when you have a big boss fight, and you should just use legendary actions because they're good and they have a good design purpose. And don't be like me and just decide that the way to solve the action economy is to gimp half your players in the first round, because that wasn't fun.
I just found my first ever attempt at a monster sheet on PC. It is fucking awful. This hurts to read.
Yeah. The other lesson that I learned, what not to do, is if you make a simulacrum and you make your players fight the simulacrum and you make your players kill the simulacrum and you make your players realize that it was a simulacrum and that this guy has the ability to create simulacrums, your players will not remember that the villain can make simulacrums. And that is why they TPK'd.
Great.
Oh boy.
So that is my show and tell for villainy.
Fair enough. That's yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the super short version is, you know how when you put a bag of holding into another bag of holding, it creates an explosion and brings everyone to the astral plane?
Yeah.
Our barbarian did that because they met the villain, and the villain was like, let's talk about this diplomatically. Let's kind of like doing a villain monologue thing. And then the barbarian was like, fuck this, I'm gonna shove the bag in and smash the arrow through, because we had an artificer, and he of course made an astral arrow that like combines the two things together. You've seen the blueprint. And she was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do this right now and just bring me and him and everyone around me into the astral. Like, basically, I'm gonna sacrifice myself to bring me and the villain into the astral plane. And she managed to successfully get a surprise round in and do it, and she sucked herself and him and like 2 of his henchmen in, and I was like, I don't know how to tell her that guy was a simulacrum. And then he had a bunch of goons, and they all also had astral arrows. So once that happened, they all shot all the rest of the party members, and they all got sucked into the astral sea. And I was like, well, this boss fight was fucked. I had an entire like maze map planned that was gonna be really cool. Doesn't fucking matter anymore.
Who needs a maze anyway?
Wow.
So let's see the judges' scores on that one.
Yeah, the judges score simulacrum.
Yeah,
I score it. Damn it, you stole my joke. Yeah, I mean, the only way you could really like nail home that they're simulacrums is to have multiple like shown. So when you have one, they think most players think, oh, this is just a one and done gimmick. I think the one time I've used simulacrums, I've literally shown him not only creating a simulacrum right in front of him as they go into his lair, but also having like 3 others that are just, weaker, that kind of shows, oh hey, this is gonna be a common thing now. You almost have to show the players that this is not a one-off gimmick.
Yeah, because basically when they had killed the guy, it was like, oh, well, you cut him and he starts to bleed like water, and then he dies and he turns into this pile of snow, and it's like,
wait a minute.
Yeah, and everyone else was like,
wait a minute.
Well, that was weird. Anyway, also, shut up, Brant! Shut up!
Wait a minute!
Shut up! I love Brant just finally putting 2 and 2 together. I love putting simulacrums in my campaigns.
Oh, no. I just wait a minute.
No one talk about this. Don't tell
realization
Don't tell Ray. Don't tell anyone.
What happened on podcast stays on podcast.
I mean,
I fucking
Ray
hate you, man.
may or may not be in chat.
Ray is here, and she got the realization.
Models mess it up. Go on. Finish your thought though.
My thought?
Yes, your thought. Or you're done.
I was done. I was more just giving out the recommendation of showing off the simulacrums, and that there's gonna be multiple of them. And then just me having the sudden realization that you are a fucking dick.
For people who don't know, in my Ultimate Academy campaign, there was a scene where fucking Brant's character Apis fought like a big bad evil guy, and then when someone else came in, they just found a pile of snow. And I think Brant is just finally now putting it together.
No, I struck him. I struck him. And
yeah, you
there was
struck
water,
him. And yeah, you saw that he bled, and it kind of like became translucent, and he grabbed you, and his grip was ice cold, as I described it.
took me to now to just realize.
Yeah. So yeah, none of us are immune to the. Oh right, that was a simulacrum.
It happens. It happens.
Sometimes the realizations come out of session, you know.
Anywho.
Listen, if it doesn't come in the 2 o'clock in the morning, you sit up in your bed and wait a minute. Is it truly a good villain?
I have gotten a message from one of my fucking players, 4 of them, was like, wait, that thing that happened, is it this thing? I'm like, yes. Fuck you.
Oh
it is the best.
Those are the best villains right there.
Hold up, that was a villager that had Cusco. No, I'm not gonna do that.
Oh no.
The entire thing.
Oh yeah, it's all.
Any other big revelation comments about that villain design?
Were your players new players?
2 of them were new.
Yeah.
One of them was kind of new, but new, was comfortable with the game, but hadn't played very much. But they knew all the rules and they were comfortable with the game.
Yeah.
One of the players is a veteran, and then we had a 5th player that joined in who was a veteran and an asshole. That's the artificer I'm talking about.
Oh, sorry.
Nice.
He might be the reason I hate artificers in my games.
I mean,
what did I? Is that why you kicked me out?
No. We're not having that discussion here.
Artificer, you dick. Anywho.
Freaking listen, never trust artificers.
Wow, that's off topic.
You say they just want to do some cute little wagon shit, and then all of a sudden you have napalm in your game. Okay, I'm just gonna say it.
Napalm is easy to make.
Listen, I just want to make bleach. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Anywho, I think what really would have helped you send the simulacrum. How the fuck you say it?
Simulacrum.
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 That spell.
Simulation.
You probably should have give your each simulacrum a page of the book, or a torn page of the book and whatnot to actually sell it. It's every time you see a torn page of the book, it's oh, that's not really him. We're looking for the main book.
Yeah. I would also state that something like that is more of a veteran level kind of villain to have something that devious. Yeah. You could even see a veteran player will not pick it up sometimes, and then even newer players have no idea that spell exists, and
I'm gonna be honest,
they don't understand.
I put too much faith in my players. That sounds too mean, but I had made the assumption of my players seeing that, and of course they wouldn't need to know exactly that it's simulacrum. They wouldn't need to remember, oh, that's exactly how the spell works, and I've read the player's handbook. But just the idea of oh, this guy can make clones of himself using snow.
Yeah.
This is why there's the joke of the 3rd grade puzzles.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
You can stump your players with puzzle from a 3rd grade.
Oh,
that's being nice, I think we're talking, maybe 2nd, 1st grade,
Well, I'm gonna be honest.
Okay,
nice.
Not to get off topic, but literally, I've had players that could not beat a 3rd grade puzzle.
I've had my players almost die to a sliding block puzzle.
It happens.
Can we agree that the biggest puzzle for any D&D party is an unlocked door?
Let's be honest. An unlocked door is the true villain of any campaign.
Yeah.
Because every stand is okay, if it's locked, then okay. It's have you checked it? No. We want to make sure it's not trapped. It's fair enough. I'll come back in half an hour.
Okay.
I always just throw a chair in a room.
Okay. Now we push the door open. It's pulled. Okay.
Yeah.
Why the door open?
It's clearly locked.
This is why your wizards should learn catapult, because they could do a breach and clear.
Especially if it's a gnome.
Noted.
Right, everyone's gotta hydrate.
I need to get more water than one moment.
I gotta
Whoa,
drive
crap.
for like an hour and a half after this. Can y'all stop making me drink?
Well, freaking, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking water
Okay.
Are you?
this time.
You'll take a rest stop. It's okay.
It's not the red happy juice.
Speaking of, our timing is quite tight. Let's move on. I don't want to. I don't want to make this too much about.
Is it
about
my turn to
simulacrums.
talk about?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's see what the
Yes.
angel can do
Do
since
it.
he's a good person and they don't
You
really
know-
do bad.
Who, me?
You all are talking about these good villains. You know what makes a super villain? Presentation!
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that was coming. I was
got
so
something
wanted
to
to
show
ruin
off?
it so bad.
So my biggest thing when it comes to villain and villain creation is all about the presentation. I subscribe to there are 3 types of villains: the ones that you love to hate, the ones you hate to love, and the ones that just make sense. I have played all 3 tiers when coming to my campaigns.
Oh, yes.
And when like you came up with this topic of the villains, like I can only think of the current villains I am playing in my not the Discord campaign, but my IRL Mortalis campaign, where they are slowly learning about a certain plot by a god of poison and disease, and they're basically going through like all the levels of the of their command structure basically, and right now they are currently hunting down I created him as a Tabaxi barbarian kind of character, but they've recently are like kind of pulled in and intrigued because one of the players is a veteran, the others are more new, and I kind of set up rumors when it comes to my villains. You know, the townsfolk will it's like some important characters will talk about them. This character or this villain has the detective of this one town after him as well, and you know the detective is hearing rumors that he's Rakshasa. Literally, that's how he's doing it. It's like I don't know how to say it, and it clicks to the one player, and the others are intrigued because like, hey, this may be something different than what we are planning on. The first one was just this dude that played with swords and, you know, was the classic villain. Now they're going into something deeper, and like I like having that slow burn villain. Like you were saying, man, just the, you know, having plans A, B, C, D, but also put them behind a curtain. You don't have to blatantly show it to make the players go, "Oh shit."
Yeah, it sounds like the villain you're talking about focuses on like the escalation of threat, because you like showed off like this first bad guy, which is very traditional, and then you show the escalation by like changing the tone of how they like operate.
Yeah, I mean, they went into a what was they thought was a just a one-off like little dungeon, just like a side quest piece, but then they realize, oh shit, there's a lot more that's connected, and it like I like presentation. I like giving the villains their time in the sun because they're just as important as the PCs themselves, and like making the players literally, I shit you not, 2:00 in the morning getting a text of, wait, does that mean that these two people are connected with each other? It's like, Is
I'll
it
never
though?
tell.
Is that
maybe not.
I legitimately have one player creating a conspiracy board as we speak, which is
Beautiful.
not lining up to my conspiracy board that I created for this campaign, which is glorious. And it's just great when you have villains like that, and you can even have your over-the-top villains as well, like the campaign that you were spectating in. The Incarnate is just this like he's playing the classic bad guy. He's letting the players do what they want, but they're eventually gonna fuck around and find out a little too hard, and that's what they're currently doing. And it's like, but even that villain, I had my players literally sit for 2 fucking sessions debating whether they want to go with him or not, while his lieutenant was literally standing right next to him.
I have a question. When it comes to the conspiracies, has your players reached the point of a PowerPoint presentation yet?
I don't feel like they'll be that invested.
Okay, because I've seen that before. Not in one of my games, but a friend's IRL game. Players showed up with a fucking PowerPoint. It's like, guys, this is what's going to happen. I know it.
Like, I
Here's
can't.
my thesis statement.
I can't wait for them to, and I know none of them are in your chat. I can't wait for all of them to realize most of their allies and friends that've been, having this information all share one common trait, and that they are a blood hunters, and that's going to be another conspiracy board down the road.
Mercer
PowerPoint.
invading the campaign.
I gotta say, I do love it when you have to give the ambiguous GM, like, maybe, what is your thoughts? Like, I will not confirm or deny.
I also love when, like I said, when they, like, hey, this guy's making sense with the Incarnate. Hey, I just want to take all the power of the gods and put it back into the earth, because everyone is fucking around and finding out with it. And hey, that makes sense because we met a god before and he's kind of a fucking dickhead. So maybe he has a point. But but also our friends have a bit of a point of maybe they just need an actual regulator. And it was like literally 2 sessions of them going back and forth with each other, which honestly, I did not care that I was frustrated that was 2 sessions. I was more proud that it took them 2 sessions.
I mean, like the best time as a DM is when you're just sitting back and your players are just fucking arguing between each other.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Like, I will literally just sit back in my chair, put my feet up on my desk, and I'm just gonna listen in. You know, when you guys start punching each other, just roll me initiative.
Speaking of punching each other, totally didn't happen in my campaign recently.
It always happens in your campaign. So yeah, like, I wish I could show like how I build my villains. But honestly, for me, the stack block doesn't matter. That's just, them fighting at the end. What really matters to me is how you present the villains, and that's how you make them memorable. Is like when you realize, halfway through the campaign that there was a lot more going on with them than they originally thought, and then it's like, well, shit. We're really down the rabbit hole, aren't we?
Like, slow burns are fucking nice. You show one thing and then like 4 months later, you remember that one thing? It's like, fuck.
Yeah. That's also the one problem with slow burns too, is player memory.
Mm-hmm.
I am very lucky.
Not even
half my players take notes. I'm very lucky.
It's not even about the weight. Like for me, I'm waiting with you guys. I'm as excited. You will see the DM grinning, and it's already too late. It's literally just player memory. Like, you can be lucky and have characters that write notes. Like, I'm happy that I have right now like a couple that actually take notes, but I've also played with people in the past that don't take notes, and then you do like this build up and it falls flat because
it's like, who?
Yeah. It's the worst part about Chekhov's gun is when you fire it in the third act and they're like, wait, there was a gun there?
No, I think I've had where somebody didn't remember. It's like, oh wait, it was different. It's like it was this thing, and he's like here from the person. Like, oh wait, no. It's like they remember like from a quick. This was like, oh fuck, nope, never mind. I want to leave.
Wait, brain blast.
It's like, oh fuck.
I could write a whole video essay on like making those like interesting plot twists. I don't know what the right term for it, but I always just use the term recontextualization, where you like show something and you give it a meaning that people can take at face value so that they can remember it. And then you recontextualize it with new information later as a sort of plot twist. That's the way that I always like to like make sure my players remember something. You just gotta make sure that the thing that you want them to remember has an important meaning that they can take, even if it's like a slightly misguided or false meaning. It's a meaning they can take, and that way they immediately compartmentalize like the event.
That thing happened. All right.
Yeah, like to give you an example, in the party in Ultimate Academy, there was the moment where like, like Pandora and Fish were like dancing, and like Fish caught Pandora like glancing at like her midriff area, and like that moment has an immediate like ramification of like, well, we're gonna remember that moment because it has the context of like, oh, they're on a date, and that's like a romantic moment of like, oh my gosh, is she checking her out? And that way like you get that first context of, oh, that's the meaning behind that observation. But then when Pandora like puts her to sleep and like goes into her midriff and pulls out the bag and starts rummaging through it, you get the new context of like, oh, she wasn't looking at my stomach because she thought I was hot. She saw that because she saw the bag that I was hiding. And like the reason you get to make that realization, the reason why that clicks so much more easily is because of the first meaning. You still remember that she saw that she was staring at your midriff. So that's the way that I make it easier for your players to remember. Also, it was easier that it happened like only last session. So it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I hope people remember that one.
I mean, I gotta say, I do like the idea of the tier system to the villainy, though. That's an interesting concept.
Oh, not to go behind the curtain too much, but I've actually took the inspiration off of some of the more original Assassin's Creed games, like where you just assassinate each of these side dudes. Yeah, essentially, is where I got the inspiration from, where, yeah, basically you just go after each dude one by one until you eventually, oh, haha, this is the real person all along.
Just murder just murder your way up the villain corporate ladder.
Honestly. Though you also have to make sure it's not all about the killing. Some need a more tactful approach. Like, I think the next one that they are going to go to is a high-ranking nobleman.
This one needs a hug.
This one you can't just murder outright, because then you'll have an entire kingdom on you.
Yeah, that's half my villains.
To murder them too.
Now you gotta do espionage. Now you have to let the rogue have his fun going into the manor and finding all the lovely clues and whatnot, and actually, get him through the court system. Because
that's gonna be hard.
I
have a presentation question before we move on. you talk about how important the presentation is, and I have an important question for you, which I think plagues a lot of DMs, and I want to hear your take on it. How do you handle the villain monologue, and then your players are just like, while he's talking, I stab him?
So, I actually had an answer to that because my next Misfits or Mortalis campaign or session will have a monologue before the fight. He is a lich. Why would he knows that they're just gonna, as soon as he drops onto the battlefield, that they're gonna go hit him hard, or
they're gonna engage
any manner of bullshit and nonsense players have.
You want to know my?
So why would he be present? No,
Make it loud speak.
He has a spark of divinity. He's already in their minds throughout this entire battlefield. No, I'm gonna start talking in their heads and only end my monologue when I'm on the floor because fuck you guys.
You want to know a Chad move? You want to know a Chad move?
What? What do you do?
Move version of that one? Literally, do have the bad guy appear, and yes, while the enemies while your heroes are really about to stab daggers on him, let him keep doing the monologue. Let the rogue stab, and the monologue does not gets interrupted. He fights him while still doing the monologue.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's
fucking even just monologuing mid-combat, just as you're fighting. Huzzah! We're gonna have a duel of wits while we duel with our swords.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. I not to borrow from all the video games and stuff that I keep being inspired by, but yeah, I like the Undertale Deltarune approach, where it's like, all right, well, it's your turn. You're gonna smack me a bunch. Oh shoot, Card, thank you for the raid. Howdy rowdy, everyone. We're talking about villainy.
Or really at the end if you don't steal from games.
I know, right?
Or the classic Princess Bride, the sword fight.
Yeah, but the idea of like, well, it's the player's turn. They talk, they plan, and they beat the crap out of the bad guy, and he takes a bunch of damage. And now it's the bad guy's turn. But before the bad guy goes, talking is a free action, so he's gonna get a bunch of snarky words in and then stab you. And then just have that happen every time the villain acts. And then when your players get really into it, they like have a rebuttal when it's their turn. And then you have that cool battle of wits moment.
I mean, I did that with
I have since stopped trying to monologue pre-fight.
Yeah, like pre-fight monologue, I practically just save for the end boss. Because he needs his moment in the spotlight, and like I said, this one's a lich, so it's very easy to just go inside their heads, telepathically talk to them before dropping him on the field, where he's gonna then blow a fucking high tier magic at them, because why would you not start with your strongest attack?
Yeah.
Fair.
Thanks, man.
Another based Undertale moment. By the way, everyone take a drink. The lovely Car has given us a raid and some hydration stations. I'm also gonna go ahead and crack my neck for a second.
It reminds me of a fucking one-shot I ran where, in defense, the guy who told the guy to shut up, he was free intelligence in game, but so I had this monologue because it was just a dumb one-shot, and then the player character goes, just shut up. It's like, well, I'm talking to free action, so that's an action. Power word kill. May I continue speaking?
I've actually had that happen the opposite way.
Let him finish his dialogue after.
The one time I let like a mid-tier villain monologue, they feeble mind him.
No!
Evil.
No!
And because he did not have legendary resistance, as soon as I rolled, I was like 5 seconds from actually giving them legendary resistance right then and there, but I'm like, you know what? That was too funny.
Too great.
What's your plan?
Well, you see. Look around you. My plan is on.
Just I forgore.
What's your plan?
I mean, another way I've dealt with the monologue thing is the actual person writing the players themselves, so that each player gets like a hand note based on something,
Yeah,
and they get
yeah.
it internally, and they choose whether or not they want to share it with the rest of the group.
Everyone gets like their own little like personal monologue.
I was about to say, also let the players monologue too, if you're gonna monologue.
100%.
Oh yeah, players monologuing is great. I love it. If your players monologue, just let them. They're getting into their character. You don't have to do any work. It's the best. It's the best when players monologue. I love that shit. Give them inspiration for it.
But just,
100%.
but I warn my players, like, hey, you're monologuing, the villain will too.
You've been talking for 30 minutes now, so will he.
Speaking of the monologue, I say let's.
Battle.
Angel, what do you have for
Let's
us?
see what Angel's got for us in the villainy department.
I only have 30 minutes left. There is no way I'm going to be able to finish anything I want to say.
What?
Well,
You can't just be
Do
your
you
notes
want
and
me
be
to
like,
just
oh,
go?
these are all 30 minutes.
tell you what. Let me just re-edit my script here, so I'll just make it really quick.
He's got those
Just,
script out, boy.
no,
Yo,
just
we're
pull
talking
out the
about
script
monologues.
here.
Here comes Angel.
Just pull us out. Like, all right, which one?
I'll spare you the cliff notes.
Listen,
It gets rid of 4 pages.
all
So
you have
how-
to do is just
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Rip
Don't
them
worry,
up.
I got mine as well.
Not a D&D session without at least one of those. Ah,
So can I
okay,
go?
that doesn't work.
It's either that or just a
Yes,
random
I
dice
would
roller.
say let's let Angel get his point
Do
in.
you, have do you have plastic in your force? Hold on, we can't skip this. Hold on.
No, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it.
One Lester, hold on.
Don't question, no intimidations, please. I will take no
Okay.
criticism.
Anywho, so how I conduct my bad guys, I literally call it the Theater of Revelry. Theater of Revels. So, how I conduct my bad guys is literally stage 3 and a 4th hidden one that I may or may not use at all. My first stage is literally called the Stage and Shadows. It's where the environment itself is the enemy of the campaign. It normally works for survival campaigns, or trying to stay alive with food resources and surrounded by poisons, monsters, and dinosaurs and whatnot campaigns. And then the Shadows part of this stage is literally just the existential fear in the players' minds, and that's what I use in those types of scenarios. The second stage is called the Actor and the Grunts. It's kind of self-explanatory. The actor literally is your side villains or main villains or grunt villains, and the grunts is literally just the NPCs and whatnot that try to do harm with you. They always take the roles that you need them to take and always need to fill. That's normally the things I have to normally work with my second stage. My third stage, however, is called the Viewers and the Mirror, where you literally make a villain that reflects the hero's goals and or state of mind or personalities. And when you literally use the mirror part, is where you literally make a other than a villain that looks essentially like a copycat of the heroes or adventurers, you literally make them just literally the opposite end of your heroes, adventurers, guilds, and whatnot.
Like a foil?
Like a foil, yes. So, my main way of working with any of these literally depends on what stages I need. You may have, I don't think you were there for the first time I actually used a foil Dryad for Unicorn Hope, but I think you were there. For example, the foil for Fawn is Sebastian. You know who that is, right? Blue eyes.
Yeah. They're
Right.
the clear like rival character.
Yes, and the actors and grunts are literally just the Unicorn Hope King and whatnot. I literally have different ways of actually, I have in my mind, I either have the Jester, the Colonel.
You've got a whole court of archetypes that your characters kind of fit into.
Yes, and I usually always use them all. Yep. And this is how I always work and build my enemies around, literally. And then my fourth hidden one is literally called the existential dread. and I rarely get to use this one, but it's literally it's when you're attacking the players themselves, unfortunately, and you're using their own actual fears. I only do this with experienced players. You can only do this with experienced players because I 100% believe if you try this with any new beginners, they will never touch D&D ever again. They will never touch.
I mean,
idea.
existential.
Throw spiders at them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't like start throwing phobias and stuff. Hi, Ray.
Yes. First, you've just got a spider. Here's a Drider.
For this next arc of the campaign, I would like you, the player, to tell me what your greatest fears are.
Oh no, that's the great thing about having players that like to talk among themselves. They literally just tell you right there on them without you ever even asking. I know what yours is. I know what Fawn is. I know what Numi's is. I know what Darvin's at. So I literally use them.
Though, you say that. Hey, what's your greatest fears? Do you guys ever just do that and not do anything with it? Just
Oh yeah, I love the big fake out. Yeah, I've done that.
I've used it once, and then other times they've been like, "Are you gonna use it?" It's like maybe. Just nice to know.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I'm not the only one.
I literally had to shorten this by a lot just for now, just to make sure we fit in the last 30 minutes. So, if I can, I'll just keep on going about how I use certain things.
There's one thing I wanted to mention, because we were talking about like your different like tiers or your stages, and it reminds me, it has a parallel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the classification of narratives. Where like there's like 4 like major classifications of like there's like man versus man, and then man versus nature, and then man versus society, and man versus self. And I kind of saw like a parallel between like the way you like staged your different villain arcs with the different styles and classifications of conflict. Like you started with like the sort of like where the environment is the villain and like the main antagonist, and that's sort of like a big like man versus nature conflict. And you have like the sort of grunts that like go down this sort of like societal hierarchy, which kind of like reflects the man versus society conflict. And then like this existential fear you have is like the hidden stage is like a man versus self idea. That's sort of like the parallel that I was seeing about it. And I just wanted to bring that out there because I thought it was really interesting. And I wanted to know if like if you're familiar with that. That's like how you got like your classifications coming in.
I wasn't familiar with that at all. Literally, I did learn it as I was DMing and whatnot. I literally experimented tons of times with what works was I literally can't. I don't paint by numbers. I paint by what I'm given. If that makes any sense. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but my mind every time where I see my players as a wave of colors. And what colors they give me is what I have to paint with. Like for example, you Dryad, you always give me every now and then is either blue or red. I had to figure out how to move that blue and red and try to make a decent purple that actually works against you or with you. Fawn, I definitely get greens and blues. That's a hard color to paint with. The only way I can actually work on it is if I make it reflective and then actually make something like just a wild person, but also at the same time just as the opposite end of that color spectrum. Numi, warm and autumn colors and whatnot. I had to find something cold, like having to kill her mother and whatnot, and dangerous, and
spoilers.
She already knows. She already knows.
Maybe some of you hasn't watched that episode yet.
Yeah. And Darvin, he literally is the best foil against him is literally someone that would use his own intelligence to actually make large. Like, imagine you're a scientist and you're trying to make a cure for like the common cold. Can you imagine another scientist just steals your cure for common cold and weaponizes it?
You now have a cold.
Yeah. You now have mega cold. Your sneezes can level cities.
Just imagine how he would feel. He has to feel like he has to stop that.
Yeah, you have like that sense of responsibility. That's the classic like scientists like dealing with the consequences of their creations arc.
Yeah. For example, the big example I ever thought of like using this actual archetype, it was literally against you, Silent Wave. or your character Silent Weave. I remember essentially like, you better not have made my character like the daughter of a goddess or something like that. I was like, no. And I said that.
Why would you think that?
And I didn't. And I didn't. But I did think about it really hard afterwards.
Here's
like,
the bar.
What the hell I was going to do with your background, actually. And I think the what I came up with so far is actually pretty nice. I can't spoil it because you're here. But,
yeah. We're still on the way to fully discovering that arc, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
All right, but that was one thing that I just wanted to mention about those classifications and stuff like that. And it's a good case study. People who are interested in making good villains and good conflicts in general should read up on that if they find a time or if it interests them.
Yeah, like I said, I experiment a whole lot with people. I experimented with a lot of people. It was a lot over the times. I get some really interesting results, or very mundane blah results. I'm literally giving it all my all in this campaign I'm with right now with other VTubers, and so far all the results I'm given is either really, really good, or out of no one, someone is like demanding to see the monster's character sheets. It's like, what?
Oh, I don't feel called out at all.
No, I'm sorry, Dryad. Don't worry. If it was anyone but you, I would never show anyone the monster sheets. But since it was you, I was like, I trusted your view. I trusted your view.
I was like, how far? And then you were like, homebrew. And I was like, oh, okay.
You wanted to see the homebrew so badly.
I was like, oh, it's well, you were like, this is the sheet. And you were like, I was like, where did you get this stat block? And you were like, Reddit. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's why it's broken. It's from Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit be like that.
I don't think it was broken. I had to adjust some things on the fly because there were some things that would outright kill my characters, or should I say my adventurers, like that I did not like. So it's like, I think I did a good job with that monster. That you still might finish with.
You did a great job. It was just very confusing because when you play a lot of D&D, and I want to move on to Spawn after this, so I'm sorry to keep taking so much time, but when you play a lot of D&D, there's like a lot of like sort of like design rules and conventions that you kind of see. Like, for example, most medium races have a speed of 30 feet. Most like people have proficiency bonuses between this and that, and like you see like these conventions that kind of just like universally apply, that like you kind of like, I don't want to say take for granted, but are sort of like assumed rules within the D&D's like universal like system. And Homebrew loves to break those rules.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But those rules are there for a reason. So you have to like be very careful about when you break those rules.
Just to let everyone know, every time you hear me call out something on Dryad or poke fun at Dryad, I don't hate Dryad. I love him.
We do it with love.
We do it love. So honestly, I'm not even mad at him. So just to let everybody know.
Hey, listen,
don't worry about it.
It's just a banter.
It's just banter, literally, I literally follow this how I make my bad guys to the letter, because it seems like it gives me the most results I get. So it seems like they really either want to hate or kill out my enemies, or work with them in some strange way, which Numi does constantly.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking like I always make my bad guys to the letter. First, I go on Reddit.
It's alright.
Like,
that's totally not the big bad.
Okay,
That's
I'm sorry.
monsters.
I'll stop joking about it.
That's monsters, and that's also called the beast aspect of my actor.
Well, still, like, I think making like sort of like force of nature monstrous, like not every villain has to be like this mastermind planner. Some villains are just like brutes, and those are important to sort of design. I'm guilty of like not making enough villains that are just like brute forces of nature, honestly, sort of monsters.
Yeah, and if nature can take you out with just a simple infection in your leg, you're out.
All right, I want to move on to Spawn. Sorry, Angel, I took up some of your time.
It's okay. Go on. Let's move on, Spawn.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You gotta talk and dice, Spawn. Show us what you made of.
Oh, well, so when it comes to villains for me, I never make one. Like, every campaign I've had, it's either a group working together or several villains that have common-ish goals that they're maybe going about it differently. And I always introduce these villains in various ways. You have the ones that are unseen until last minute. You have the ones that are constantly bantering the party. You have other ones that are possibly a part of the party even without the party knowing it. So I just, for me, it's I think Ray's squinting at Sir.
No, don't. Some villains are the party.
Yeah. So with me, I like to use a lot of
perspective. Yes.
I like to use a lot of the dynamics of it. I also really love to make my players question who the actual villains are, because sometimes I make my villains not the traditional I'm evil, I'm trying to destroy the world, more of I'm doing something that could seem to be evil, but I have good reasons for.
Yeah, you have like the villains that are like you've seen the tier list of villains. Like there are villains that are just like abominations that only wants to kill, and they're kind of boring. And then you have like the villains that are like, you know, I'm doing villainous thing, but I believe my causes are just, and it's like how every villain believes they're the hero.
Yeah, I also have villains that are just a part of the group because at one point they were friends with said villains that took a dark path and just didn't know how to let go. Yeah, that's a fun one.
That's a spicy one.
Yeah, when you have yeah, well, it's one of those ones where the villain is a villain for association, not so much for what they do, but they don't know how to like separate from friends, because you know when you grow up with somebody for a long time, you develop a relationship with them. You know they're bad, but they're still your friend.
You don't exactly want to stab them.
Those are somewhat of like the redeemable villains, though.
But can you redeem them if they won't let you hurt their friend?
Who is a villain?
I mean, you just gotta show them the right side of life.
You just gotta give them a hug. I told you, it all comes down to hugs.
I'm sorry, I also like redeemable villains.
Give them a bagel.
I mean, but that's me. Like, I like to make groups just because it gives you more room to play with variety of villains. And
yeah,
they died. Oh well.
Well, there's that, but also in case the campaign runs a way that you weren't 100% expecting, they don't have to run into all the villains. They can just run into a few of them, and they'll still have a satisfying group.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like you have the quantity approach where it's like you have like almost like these factions that are like in play, and it really fits you, Spawn, because you were coming in when we were talking about it earlier and being like, I love random encounters and I love making tables.
No, you don't.
It's great. It's awesome, especially when the party starts to think that the new players introduced are the big bads, because they are.
Don't say things like that. Don't make them irredeemable. I've seen that too. Like striking a good balance, right? Like if every hero is redeemable, you get like the fairy tale, like it's like syndrome where like every villain is always gonna have like some like redeemable tragic backstory, but like
sometimes just a dick.
Yeah. Sometimes it's almost refreshing as a player to have someone who's like, I'm not gonna say cartoonishly evil, but like sort of like that Disney villain vibe, where it's like I just love being bad.
Yeah,
that's almost as memorable.
Those ones are great to pair with the one who's like, I'm his friend from like childhood. I know he's a dick and horrible person, but he's really not that bad.
It's like the person slaughtered your family, but
it's like the person who's like in the process of trying to redeem someone. It's like, no, I can change her.
So it's like
I can fix him.
Week, like 1 week more. Just stab him next week.
It is. It's so great to make them, like, the nice one have a love interest in the evil one, because then you can play into that, I can change him still, don't kill him.
Then he lives and just escapes.
I've had opposite effects too. Have you ever had like villains that you like kind of wanted to have like a redeemable arc, but your players like don't care, just fucking kill him?
No, don't care.
Wow.
I have had the opposite of that. I've had villains that I've designed to be like Disney villain, cartoon evil. They're just bad. And I've had players that are like, no, I really want to redeem him.
I mean, the one I mentioned, like Morris, he was technically redeemable. It would just have taken a lot of fucking effort.
Though, I will say my favorite one to do is to make the villain fall in love with one of the NPCs, and it works amazingly well if that NPC falls for that villain, because they're not going to change their ways. They're just like, I like you, and if I can make you be bad with me, this is even better.
Yes, corruption. The unifying force.
Extra villains for the for the last fight. It's like, oh, by the way, I'm keeping one of you on my
More
side.
pawns.
Oh yes, especially if it's like, okay, so now you have the villain and a player against everybody else. Enjoy killing your friend.
Villain just grinning ear to ear, like I didn't even need to cast suggestion on you.
It makes a very unique experience at the D&D table.
Listen,
all right.
Sometimes they're bad, sometimes they're right.
I mean, I've had like one shot where I told a player at the start of the one shot, we'd already talked about this. By the way, you're the boss when it comes to the end. I'll tell you this specific phrase, and you start doing your shit. So like normal player, like just for the like 90% of the one shot, and then when one character mentions a specific fucking phrase we planned beforehand, he's like, oh, by the way, I am going to use my layer action.
Oh.
You just raised the like, wait, hold up. I just healed you 5 minutes ago.
Like the sleeper agent archetype?
Yeah. It was literally a sleeper agent. He was playing a Warforged, so he was just, programmed to, oh, by the way, if you hear this thing...
I haven't played with the sleeper agent before.
You just like have the Warforged, and it's like the freaking Spider-Man Homecoming where it's like engaging instant kill mode.
Literally. It's like, oh, by the way, you have to send. It's like, I have layer action, and I'm going to shoot you.
I've had a very fun moment where, like, I had a dream sequence for one of my players. And I communicated this with one of my other players beforehand, but after they like went to sleep and camp out, they didn't know it was a dream sequence, but they like woke up in the middle of the night, and one of the other players was awake, like keeping watch, and then we role played like a PvP scene where that guy like decided to like suddenly fight the dwarf. The dwarf was the one who was sleeping. And they like fought him, and the player was just like, "No, I'm gonna fight you. I don't actually think you're kind of evil, so I'm just gonna hit you, and yeah, you're stunned, and I'm tying you up." And like he like threw him off a cliff, and it was a very tense moment for my player, who was like kind of a pushover as a player. He's kind of a pushover as a person, so he was just like, "All right, I guess this happens." And he was like so like emotionally hurt, and then we were like coming back like, no, we were just kidding, man, it was a dream.
Oh, that's rough.
It was so rude. We were the villains that day.
Amazing, but mean.
Wow. Yeah, that takes it to a new level of like, haha. Yeah.
Here's
talking about emotional manipulation. There's a case study for you. Okay, we're still friends, I think.
Are you?
Did you check post session?
But
all right, so
I was say.
Well, I think Spawn still has something he wants to say.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was say the other thing that's fun with groups is sometimes getting one of the villains to cooperate with the group to go against another villain, then betray said group after dealing with other villain. Yes.
I mean, truce doesn't have to last, the entire fight.
Just options with groups. It makes it fun.
All right. You have a lot now, chat. You've heard all of our spiels. You've got a lot of angles to take on this. Everyone hydrate. The real villain is a freaking hydration redeem. Thanks, Ray.
No, we've already established that it's doors.
Yeah.
Specifically
The villain is
unlocked doors.
unlock doors.
So what can we summarize about our takes on villainy?
We all do it very differently.
Take a look at the different categories of conflict: man versus nature, man versus self, and you can theme your villains based around that. Making foils for your characters is super valuable, and then having those foils lends a lot to potential for interaction and emotional manipulations beyond just I hit him with my sword until the villain is dead. Make sure your villain is statted properly and isn't like gonna one-shot your party during actual conflict. Give them the legendary actions, give them their actions. They need them for a reason.
They're alone. They need them.
What else?
We all can't say Simulacrum.
No one else.
Simulacrum?
Simulacrum. I think you're the only one who can't say it, Angel. Sorry to throw you under that bus.
Topic for next week: simulacrums.
That's
Throwing
fine.
spiders at the party are great.
I couldn't say prestidigitation and thaumaturgy for like the longest time.
Same.
Prestidigitation.
Prestidigitation.
Yeah, say that 5 times fast.
No.
Any other fast lessons for our viewers before we find someone to raid? And pass the talking dice.
We have to know who's the next talking dice.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting on it.
It's gonna be between me and someone else, unless
it's between Angel, Brant, and Giya.
All right.
Ray says she wants to see spiders in the Academy game.
No, you don't. I already know that's not true. We literally had a whole session 0 about it.
I don't know. My favorite part is still
Praise be the Spider Queen.
The Alchemy Academy across Quinceanera thing is my favorite part.
All right, so we've got the dice. We're gonna say 1 or 2 is Giya, 3 or 4 is Brant, and 5 or 6 is Angel. I'm gonna roll a 6-sided dice. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Here we go.
Give me 5. Give me 5. Give me 6. Give me 5. Give me 6. Give me 5.
It's a 2.
Oh.
That means Giya is gonna be the next host of Charisma Check, so you better fucking be there.
I mean, we just have to fucking find a time where my time zone isn't in the way.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll be around. And what I want to do for everyone, as a heads up for anyone who's checking the VOD or any viewers, soon I plan to have a poll, like a little question thing available. So anyone who wants to ask questions about D&D or DMing or tabletop gaming or anything like that in general, feel free to fill a question out, and we will address it during our next podcast episode. And we can have
we can just have an Ask Me Anything.
Engagement. Yeah, we're gonna have an AMA.
When we're out of topics, that's what we pull out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I never pull out.
Hopefully, you'll find out what topic you want to talk about, and that might help.
I have ideas.
Anyone who
my
asks
inner part
questions,
is coming
think
out.
about it. So, be prepared for that. And,
That's why you have pull-out couches, sir.
Yeah, Spawn, take away the.
I never use them.
Take it away on the last lessons learned, and now find someone to raid.
Oh, okay. Last lessons learned.
Yeah,
Villains.
you're the host. You're the talking dice.
You have. Do I?
I'm giving you the dice.
Villains. Plenty of takes. You can hate them. You can love them, but the best ones are definitely the ones your parties still talk about. Especially when you can give them that vague, "What do you think?" answer as a GM. Personally, my favorite.
That one's great.
I never do that one.
No, your party doesn't come to you with questions, and you have to just be like, "I don't know. I can't give you the answer."
Yeah, maybe I'm a really good DM. They don't have no questions, or I'm a terrible DM.
I mean, honestly with that, I fucking had players get so pissed off because literally I can't tell them anything. So it's like, you don't know.
No, you just say yes to everything, and then they're just like, wait, are you just saying yes to everything? Like, yes.
Yes.
Remember, Sir is the villain.
No, stop saying that. I'm gonna actually die. I'm gonna actually die tomorrow. I'm not even talking about Sir.
Just you.
Who is Sir?
That's my wizard in Unoa in Hellspawn's Unoa campaign.
I need to watch this video because I know you streamed it.
Yeah, a lot of people streamed it, but Sir is the villain. The party had decided the moment they met him.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and raid a friend of mine. His name is Fuzz Got Games, or Fuzz. He is a sweet prison PNG tuber, and he's playing Peglin. We're gonna give him a lovely goblin raid. I sent the raid message in. Tomorrow, we are doing Unoa with Hellspawn. Check out my perspective. Check out Visceray's perspective. Check out Hellspawn's perspective. And Saturday, I'm doing Are You Smarter Than a VTuber with Ox Ryan. Hopefully, I do better than Visceray. Hee.
Wow.
Listen. There's
Doesn't
no way
sound
I'm letting,
too hard to do.
There's no way I'm letting Ray live that down. South America, Ray? Really? Everyone check out Ox Ryan's VOD if you want to know what I'm talking about.
And on Tuesday, 4 p.m., you can watch Dryad be a player on my thing called Escape from the Unicorn Hope. And then, which will end a little before summer. And then when summer starts, we'll do the DLC Escape of Unicorn Hope called You Don't Want the Zelvin Smoke.
Oh,
wow.
The dreaded sequel.
Imagine having a planned end date.
And Giya, what are you up to?
Nothing. I'm making dinner the second we're done here.
All right, well, you should all follow Giya anyway. I'm going to go ahead and shout out everyone. So you should all follow him anyway. And finally, Divine, what are you up to?
I mean, besides going see a particular movie tonight, not really, not much. Like
I mean, for your streaming, plug yourself, damn it.
I mean, over on my channel, we are currently instead of video gaming, we are taking the time to give poor Min over here a glow up map wise.
Yeah, I'm such a bad artist.
So that's what I've been doing. Unfortunately, right now life is kind of a bitch, so my stream schedule isn't necessarily a schedule. More like, hey, this possibly what I'm gonna stream. Let's see what happens.
So
go
on, sorry.
But yeah,
Dryad, we love fucking with you. You just have the best reactions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm very bullyable. I know.
I'm sorry, Dryad. To me, you just sound like a pissed off Sonic, which I love. I don't know why.
Pissed off.
Too angry.
Sonic.
All right. Well, you know where to find us. You've got our socials. You better follow us. If you don't, then I will take all of your. I will go through your Neapolitan ice cream, and I'll take all your chocolate and vanilla.
No,
and I'll
not
leave
Neo.
Only the
She's best character.
I'll leave only the vanilla. I'll leave only the strawberry ice cream. I'm taking all the chocolate and vanilla ice cream from your Neapolitan compilations. All right. If you don't follow, that's what I'm gonna do. All right. So go ahead and follow them, and go ahead and follow Fuzz Got Games, because we're gonna go ahead and rate them right now.
That's not really a threat.
Until next time. Peace out, Cub Scouts.
Strawberry's the best part.
Remember, we love you.
What was that?
I love you,
I fucking
and I miss you,
when you
and
asked what the fuck I was doing. It's like,
I'm sorry, I had to do the joke of, I'm just gonna go see a movie later.